And we're live. This is Cameron Marceau in my basement with Sridhar Yedavali.
In my basement.
In his basement. And this is kind of like a spin-off from something we've done before. A lot, you know, this is going to get posted on Facebook, of course, like everything. And before we were playing around with the Google Plus, with the Hangouts, and we kind of had this idea that you know, we'd chat and stuff, and eventually bring other people in, and you know, that idea kind of took off a little bit more, and I was thinking, you know, why the hell aren't we just going to talk to people now? You know, like there are some really cool things happening. Actually, our first guest today is Marc Piane, and at one point, I think it was probably last year, he made a status update on Facebook talking about like all of the gigs that he's doing, and I was like, that's really cool. He's like, he's doing art as like a job. Like, I was just blown away. I thought that was really awesome, and I was like, and then I started thinking about other friends, and I'm like, I know a whole lot of people who are doing really cool stuff, you know, and so, you know, that's kind of the origin of this little thing that me and Sri are doing at this point. So, I guess without further ado, I give to you Marc Piane.
Well, glad to be here.
It's it's good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you too.
I mean, when you posted that, when that was like you. So, as a jump off, you know, you were like saying that you were constantly busy, like that you had like every day that you were gigging, and that was, I mean, you're still doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really busy. You can't, you know, it's definitely can't complain. You know, it's like any business. You know, when you're first starting off, you're wondering if you're crazy for even trying it, and you know, hopefully, you're good enough at what you do that, you know, things start to snowball and you get referrals and all that kind of stuff, and you know, at some point the business becomes you know, sort of self-sustaining. But I think that that's one of the things that, you know, any artist, you know, that's successful needs to view what they're doing, you know, as the art sort of part of it, but also, you know, that it is a business, and you know, there's things that you have to do to pay the bills and you know, keep the heat on. So,
yeah.
And it's a hard thing to reconcile sometimes. I mean, sometimes you have to make decisions that aren't you know, totally in the name of art, to do it, but you do it so that you can keep doing what you love to do. So.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I understand that totally. All right. So you're here in Chicago. You're in the jazz scene, right?
Yep.
Primarily, and how many different projects how many different groups are you playing for?
Well, you know, the main one that I do is the Chris Green Quartet, and you know, we're doing right now regular Tuesdays up at the Pete Millers in Evanston. We've got a CD release party coming up in March at the Green Mill. We've got a record coming out, so we've got that group, and then I play on Fridays at the Firehouse with a singer named Miles Hayes. So I got that going on. There's a singer-songwriter I play with named Amy Soraya, that we're actually playing March 1st, I believe, at the Hideout. Then I've got another group that's going to be doing a CD release party at the Jazz Showcase called Sean Maxwell's Alliance.
I've been watching that.
Yeah, which is kind of a newer group. We've got a record coming out mid-February, and then the February 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd will be at the Jazz Showcase for the release of that group. So, you know, lots of different stuff, and then, you know, some just freelance Played last night with a couple of good friends of mine, Tommy Bradford and Dan Tabian at a gig. Just all kinds of different stuff. So
that's really, really cool. I mean, that's like nonstop. That's that's crazy. So like, what are each of these different groups? Do they have something different to offer? Like are you playing a lot of the same styles, or is there's quite a difference?
There is a difference, and part of what at least really helps to keep me interested in what in music and kind of sustains me artistically is being involved in projects that are diverse. Sean Maxwell's project is all original, kind of small big band music. There's 10 people in the group, and it's really different kind of instrumentation for the group. So it's having to figure out how to get that to work. There's actually 2 bass players and 2 French horns. And then there's vibes, guitar, and a couple of horns. Sean plays saxophone, and then Chris Green is also playing in that group. So so that's trying to it's all about trying to make your voice, I think, your musical voice, work in different situations. And so it's trying to figure out how to get my voice to fit with that. Chris Green Quartet, which is a group that I've been playing with for a bunch of years, is a kind of traditional, I guess, jazz quartet with piano and Chris plays tenor saxophone and soprano, and then drums and me on bass. But we're also writing all original music, and a lot of stuff that we're doing is kind of mixed meter funk. Some of it is arrangements of pop tunes.
Sure.
Amy Saraya is original, straight like singer-songwriter kind of stuff, but it's all writing. That's all writing from scratch, and it's definitely from not jazz at all.
Kind of a rock folk sort of.
Yeah.
Bent on that one. I got a question for you.
Sure.
Walk East.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your group, and also give us a flavor of the difference between the performer side of what you have to do in your business versus the songwriter or the producer of your own music. When you're in the back room, when you're trying to mix everything, when you're trying to create the recorded sound versus the live sound.
Yeah, that group was funny. So, so right now I'm sitting in what has kind of been dubbed the laundry room studios by people who come over here. It's the studio that I have in the basement of my house, and it's kind of its own discrete area. But in order to get here, you have to walk past the washer dryer.
How many hangouts do you suppose are done in basements? This is
Yes.
All of them.
All of us are in basements right now. So.
Because we have children that are asleep, and we have wives that want to go to bed. And
Exactly. But this is also
we can't, we can't do our thing.
Right.
In the basement.
The man cave.
The man cave.
But this is also where I recorded the Walk East record. We recorded here.
Just right down there?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and also I had put out about a year ago a record of some string quartet pieces that I wrote. And we recorded that down here also. So I've got that was kind of one of the things that I really wanted when I bought a house, was to have a space where I could rehearse and record groups. But to answer your question, Sri, it's hard.
Oh yeah.
Because on that project I was, composer, performer, engineer. I was doing all the promotions and all that kind of stuff, and you do have to get pretty good at taking one hat off and putting the other hat on, and not letting it being able to remove yourself artistically from it, like as a performer. and then when you go to mix it, not worrying about, like, I want the bass sound to be really great because I'm the bass player. Like, no, you have to make the group sound good.
Right.
When you're mixing it.
Have you increased? I don't want to say understanding. After 20 years of doing it, you've obviously have an understanding of all the nuances of producing sound. But I find that when I was a younger musician, I really didn't have the same understanding or respect that I did for the sound engineers until I started having to be part of a recording or part of a live sound that's being recorded, and realizing how instrumental, pardon the pun, they are in the process. Now that you've been part of it, that you are the guy in the room, did you have to go to other influences? I know you've got many friends that you've recorded with. What did you take from other sound engineers to help you?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been kind of a recording hobbyist.
Okay.
Ever since back when I was in high school and had a 4-track tape recorder, so I've been doing it, doing the recording part of it forever. And I actually taught a class in some recording software at one point.
Oh, nice.
When I first in Logic, before Mac bought Logic, they used to be owned by a company named eMagic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was certified to teach their software, their recording software. So it's always been something that I'm interested in, but I'm not formally trained in it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go to school to study recording engineering or anything like that. So what I would always do is, when I would have recording sessions as a player, I would follow the engineer around and watch carefully everything that he was doing, and ask lots of questions, and and try it on my own and make mistakes, and make recordings and make and stuff that sounded bad, and what made it sound bad, and listening to records. I think that's the thing that can really be helpful, is to listen to records of really great producers and try to just dissect, like, what did they do? How did they get the bass to sound like this? How did he? And so that was kind of what I did. Was more a.
It's kind of like we did when we were young musicians, just finding your favorite musician and going, how did he get that? How did he get that sound? Yeah. Yeah.
And I think part of it comes out of necessity too. Going to a recording studio is expensive.
Yeah.
And it's not something that I can afford to do as often as I would like to. So it was part of trying to figure out how to do that on my own. Trying to figure out. I mean, I did the artwork for a couple of CDs that I've done. Trying to figure out, like, how do I do this? Because I don't want to hire somebody to do the Photoshop stuff. I got people to do photographs, but then I figured out how to actually do the layout and do all that kind of stuff myself.
Sure.
So that was also, I guess, partial artist, but also it's something that I like to do. I really enjoy. I've had groups that I don't play with that I've engineered, so it's something that I really enjoy doing. And try to, the way that I look at it is try to as honestly reproduce the exact sound that they're making. I wouldn't be a good rock producer, because part of the thing that's so great about rock producers is that they have this way of making groups sound, like every producer has like a really signature sound.
Sure.
You think of, like, Rick Rubin, and you can listen. There are a million Rick Rubin records, and you know exactly his sound.
Or Brian Eno, for that matter.
Or, yeah, any of those guys, sure. I guess my signature sound that I go for when I'm producing, when I'm recording, when I'm engineering, is I want the group to sound exactly like they did in the room when I heard them play.
Sure.
I don't try to add any gloss on it.
Sure.
So are you using your recording your mixing and such. Are you doing much commercial work? I know you made me a soundtrack for my podcast. Are you doing other things like that? Have you gotten into commercials at all, or
not really? And and I've done a little bit of other stuff like like yours, but truthfully, I've been so incredibly busy with the playing part of it.
Oh darn!
Well, I mean, there are other things that I would love to be able to do.
Sure.
And I mean, you ask about the Walk East group. I mean, I would love to be able to get that group working more. I just don't really have time.
Right.
So like there's a bunch of my original tunes that we do with the Chris Green Quartet, and that just works out well because that group is already, I'm already busy playing with that group.
Sure.
How long have you been playing with those guys?
We were thinking about that the other day, maybe 6 yeyears.
Were you there at the beginning, or did you come in a little after they've?
No, we were. Well, I've known Chris since I graduated college.
Really?
He was like in the first group that I played in, in Chicago after we graduated. So I've known Chris for years. When Chris decided to put his group together, I guess he thought of me first and called me. And so it was, originally it was me and Chris and Damien, and then we had a different drummer, and now we have this guy Steve Corley who plays drums.
Steve is amazing. Steve is really.
He's a great drummer, great guy.
Isn't he a principal or something? A school principal?
He's the dean of a school. Yeah. Yeah. School in Calumet Park. Yeah.
So the Chris Green Quartet has only been around for about 6 years. That means you've been out and about in the city doing, playing with other people for, over 10 years. What was it like, first coming to Chicago, like after graduation? I mean, let me just say now, Mark and Shri and myself, we all went to college together, so this is where, we know each other. But, as far as I go, I feel like I kind of fell off the face of the earth shortly after I moved to Chicago. I know I see Mark around every once in a while, but I'm just really curious. What was it like after you moved to Chicago when you were just starting out?
Yeah, I mean, I know. When I first graduated college, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I mean, I still don't know. So actually, when I first came to Chicago, I got a job as a teacher and taught at the University of Chicago Lab School.
Right.
I taught there for 5 years.
Weren't you a graduate yourself?
I was. Yeah, that's right. Cool.
Okay.
And my wife followed me there, did her student teaching there, and she got a job there. And an interesting thing happened then when we got married, because I could go on her health insurance.
Sure.
And so I sort of made the thought, like, well, if I'm ever going to try my hand at this music thing full time, now's the time to do it.
And what did Lisa think of that?
She thought, great, because because I mean, we don't have kids yet.
Right.
So now we have 2 kids, but at the time we didn't have kids. We didn't really have very many expenses. We lived in Wicker Park, when it was still cheap to live in Wicker Park, which it's not anymore.
Yeah.
But at the time, I think we were paying $650 a month for a 3-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Well, but the jazz musician's lifestyle, especially a gigging musician in Chicago, is not conducive to new relationships, to be sure. It's an attestament to your and Lisa's relationship that she went, this is going to be there's going to be long nights ahead, because you're trying to get New Year's gigs, you're trying to get holiday gigs, you're trying to get, because those are the big money gigs.
Sure. I mean, I do think. I have nothing but great things to say about how supportive she's been of
Sure.
of things over the years. So certainly, I mean that's about as huge gets. To have somebody that's that supportive. I also know for myself, I tried not to make it just jumping off the deep end kind of thing. Like I have a job and now I have no job, and I'm gonna try to figure out how to do this music thing. I was, I guess, 96 or so, 97. I started teaching with a music school called the Chicago Center School of Music, and so what I started to do was, as I left teaching school, I started teaching more private lessons, and so I was trying to bring in a lot more income that way. So there wasn't a whole lot of a big dip in income. The difference is that when you're going into that kind of the working for yourself thing, there's fluctuations. So you'll have a month that's great, and then you'll have a month that is really not very good at all.
Sure.
And you have to, and you learn, as you go. Like when you have a really great month, sock some of that money away, because the next month comes and it might suck, and then you have to hopefully try to supplement, what you're doing. I also teach. I'm also the co-director of this theater camp for junior high kids down at the lab school in the summertime. So that also works out to be a really great thing where I can get the money that I make from that, and sock some of that away and kind of feed off of it all year. So it's all coming into to building an income and building a living, and figuring out how to budget off of all of that. But it's I always joke around with my friends, that if you're going to make a business card, Marc Piane, performer, composer, teacher, snow shoveler, lawnmower. You kind of do what you have to do to piece together the living.
Sure.
Yeah.
But hopefully, really, I've been really blessed because it's it's all things that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
I've managed. I mean, I love doing this theater camp. I really enjoy teaching private lessons, and of course love playing. So I've been very lucky.
What instruments can you play?
Well, I guess my main instrument is the upright bass, double bass. Play electric bass also. I play some guitar. I'm not sure that I would do a whole lot of professional gigging on guitar, but I teach, especially kids, guitar lessons. Play the drum set. So like on the song that I did for your, we were laughing about this over Facebook. The song that I did for his podcast. Excuse me. I played drums, a drum set.
Mm-hmm.
There were about 8 tracks of hand drums. There was electric piano that I played. I didn't sequence it. I played the electric piano. Played guitar. All these things. The only thing that I didn't play on that track, bass. So there was keyboard bass on there, but everything else was real acoustic instruments. Me playing. So.
Yeah, that was funny. I was, and you know what? I didn't even think about it, and then I was like, wait a minute. There isn't the signature, the Marc Piane signature on that. So.
I tried laying a bass down a couple of times, and I was happier with the way the keyboard. What are you gonna do?
Cool. Well, let's see. So how about challenges in your life since we knew each other more? Like Like, have you had much adversity? Have you been? Were there any real tests for you?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, there are courses. Well, about 10 years ago, I had brain surgery, and so that was pretty huge.
That would be a big
That'd
test.
qualify, yeah.
That was pretty huge. I mean, and that was. I mean, I was, in the hospital for a while and couldn't walk. After I had my surgery, the surgery that I had was called an acoustic neuroma. So I lost hearing in this ear, and the tumor itself grows on the vestibular nerve, and so they had to remove the vestibular nerve on this side, which is a balance thing. So I had no balance, and so I had to basically relearn how to walk. I was in ICU for a while, and lost and was on a liquid diet after the surgery. So I got down to 135 pounds.
Whoa.
When I left the hospital, and so I was really weak. So that was definitely, and that was also right after. Right after my daughter was born.
Wow.
So we had in our house an infant and an invalid adult, and but it's a testament to how important for recovery friends and family are. My family was all great. They were there. Constantly and doing everything they could to support me. I had already been doing some gigging before that, and the guys would come to my house and help me load up my gear. After my surgery, and when I started playing again, come to my house, help me load up my gear, drive, carpool to gigs, all that kind of stuff, until I could finally start doing all that stuff on my own again. So it's pretty huge. It's pretty huge. Yeah. But it's been very you learn a lot about life and yourself and all those kind of things when you have to. It's amazing that it takes stuff like that to make you stop a minute and and start to evaluate what's important. And I think in one respect, it maybe want to do music more.
Sure.
And maybe want to keep doing what I love to do more. I didn't want to, you start to realize how temporary your time really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't really want to settle.
No. I don't know. It's weird. At I was like 28 years old when you're having to at that age, confront your own mortality.
Yeah.
It makes you really think about what's important, and it's family and friends and and doing what you love.
Amen.
Totally. Yeah. That's so. It doesn't look like it slowed you down at all. Like in terms of like where you are now and what you're doing. Yeah, it seems like you kind of just went for it. It gave you that much more drive.
Yeah, and it's it's a bump in the road. I really feel. What do you got there?
Oh, that's for the end of the show.
Nice. I really feel pretty lucky that I'm blessed with a fairly level head, and so it never was. I know that a lot of times when people are confronted with major health issues, depression can be a real issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it never was for me. I always had in my mind that I was gonna get better and I was gonna get back to what I was doing and everything was gonna be fine.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine you at all sinking. I mean, as I've always known you, you've always been one of the most positive people I've ever met, and you make friends with everybody. You're like, I mean, it's just it would be very strange to see you slow down like that. So, but and here's another question, like, in addition to all of the music you do, like, I know because there's Facebook. We all know what we do. You do a lot of other stuff. I mean, when you're not doing music, what are the other things that you like to do?
Well, I mean, outside of the great spending time with the family and
Sure.
all the kind of stuff that we like to do. I love to cook.
You started doing videos for a while, right?
Yeah, I did videos for a while. Well, it's funny because my cousin who's a chef. He gives me a hard time. He's saying, well, I'm going to start making videos about learning how to play the bass. That project was funny because I started off just trying to figure out how to do editing video on the iPhone.
Okay.
And I posted one of those videos and somebody was like, "This is great! I love this. Do more of them." So I did more. But I do. I love to cook. A big passion of mine is I don't know what they call it. There's this whole like ground to table thing. I love to garden too.
Okay.
So it's that whole like food from beginning to end kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
I've always been a very process-oriented thinker, and so just that entire process of growing food, harvesting food, cooking food, and eating food, all that whole process has always been really interesting to me. I also really like coffee. But again, that's become one of these days I'm going to learn how to roast coffee myself.
Yeah.
It's always a very process-oriented thing for me too. I got a Chemex coffee maker. Those are those pour-over deals, and I absolutely love it.
Are you one of those guys that actually knows what he's drinking just by tasting it?
Pretty close, yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm a big snob. I've also gotten really into yoga over the past while. Past 3 years.
3? Okay.
3.5 maybe. Yeah, I mean it's it's one of those things that I was kind of looking for. For an exercise routine that fit what I wanted, and got into it just kind of more from the exercise side of it, and then found out all the really cool, philosophical, experiential kind of stuff that comes with it. It turns out to be, I think that happens with a lot of people who kind of get into yoga, is they come at it for, oh yeah, I've got a physical ailment that I want to, remedy or something like that, and then they realize that there's a whole lot more to it, from the, the meditational side of it, and and then you start to get philosophies that sort of, govern everything that you do, and get you to stop and think and slow down, and and again, it's process oriented. It's being in the moment. Dealing with the now and not worrying about what's coming or what's happened. It's been really good.
Yeah, you're a fan of Robert Anton Wilson, I know.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, his stuff is definitely fringy, but it seems like one of those things that ends up being kind of core, like a lot of the religious teachings, they all pretty much say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Robert Anton Wilson's stuff is, very similar to a lot of other like existential type stuff as well.
What I really have enjoyed about him is that he kind of distills it all down to a no bullshit, like you were saying, a core.
Yeah.
He's really great at kind of stripping away all the window dressing.
Uh-huh.
And saying this is what we got here.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I guess, always the way I've always been a pretty pragmatic thinker.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking for, from any kind of philosophy or, I'm not looking for, any kind of magic answers.
Uh-huh.
It's all in you and kind of what you can do, for yourself. And the way that I really believe is the relationships you have with others and the influence you have over others is really in how you conduct yourself. And the thing that I love to think about, the connection with jazz improvisation. When you're improvising, the only thing that you have influence over is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as you start thinking about, like, damn it, that person's not doing what they want them to do, that kind of ruins the whole idea of an improvisation.
Yeah.
And so you try to, kind of throw your influence by how you conduct yourself, by how you perform, and it's that comedy improvisers talk about it as this yes and idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's you throw out an idea, and then hopefully soon somebody's going to say yes and throw an and back at you, and you're going to say yes and throw an and back at them, and
And you let it flow. You give up control, right?
Right, and that's kind of what I try to have be the philosophy for living.
Yeah. Very cool. So, okay, how long have we been doing this?
About 45 minutes.
Okay. Shall we go to the random part?
Yes.
We're gonna figure out how many questions we're gonna ask you, and then we're going to randomly pick some funky questions that we've prepared.
Okay.
And we have decided to use this dice, or this die right here,
okay,
to figure out how many questions we're going to ask. And the answer is 5.
Okay.
5 questions. Okay. And now we've got this dice here to figure out which of the 20 questions we get to ask in what order.
Okay.
So the first question
first one
is number 19. What is your favorite kind of pizza?
My favorite kind of pizza.
And why?
Well, the other day I had a pizza that was fresh tomato, basil, and garlic, and it was outstanding.
Fresh tomato, basil, and garlic.
It was outstanding.
I like two of those three.
But I do have to admit that my go-to is sausage and mushroom.
When in doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Question number 2 is actually number 3. 3 is, what is the oldest object you currently own, possess, or are responsible for? And give us a little history about that object.
I think the oldest thing that I have is my piano. It is an 1896 Steinway upright.
Nice.
We inherited it from Lisa's grandmother when she passed. And
Straight from Idaho?
She actually lived in Palos, in the south suburbs.
Oh, a little less dramatic. Okay.
She was this really cool old world Lithuanian lady. And when she passed, we got her piano, and one of my good friends, Craig Elliott, he's a piano tuner technician.
Sure.
So he helped me. I had some broken strings. We replaced the strings. We pulled the hammer action out and brought it to a shop and fixed up some stuff. And so
Nice.
now it sits in my living room.
And that's how the children learn how to play the piano?
Yep.
Excellent. Excellent. I'll tell you the story about my piano some other time.
All right.
Number 18 is the third question. What is your favorite kind of ball and why?
My favorite kind of ball?
Ball. Why?
B-A-L-L?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess my favorite kind of ball is a soccer ball.
A soccer ball.
I was a soccer player and still really enjoy playing soccer with my son. So yes, a soccer ball.
A soccer ball. The fourth question is number 20. Oh, I'm sorry, no, number 13. My bad. There we go. Number 13.
So, like,
No, it's a little dark in here, so I had to. And I actually had to silver coat my die because I can read it correctly. Number 13. Wingtips, cowboy boots, hiking boots, sneakers, sandals, or slippers. Again, wingtips, cowboy boots, hiking boots, sneakers, sandals, or slippers.
I guess depending on the weather, I'd go for either sneakers or sandals.
Why?
Because I value comfort over everything.
And finally, the fifth question. Is that right? Fifth question, 1, 2, 3. No, I still have 2 more questions. This is the fourth question, the penultimate question. Note 13 again. Here we go. Now I get number 20.
Critical.
Number 20. If you could be a classic movie monster, which one would you be and why? Classic movie monster.
Are we talking about like a Japanese monster movie kind of thing, or?
Could be.
It could be.
Frankenstein, Dracula, but Godzilla. That's pretty classic, and all the critters he fought.
Freddy Krueger is classic in my mind, but
Sure, yeah.
so
Because for some reason, as soon as you said that, I thought Mothra.
yeah, Mothra, dude.
I have no idea why. I just was like, oh, Mothra.
Mothra, rocket.
Because moths are terrifying.
Yeah, right. Well, there's a Frank Zappa song that's called Cheapness.
Yeah.
That the song is all about just like cheesy B monster movies. And he describes a monster in there that is not quite Mothra, but kind of Mothra-like. So that's what I was thinking of. Oh, my dog came to visit.
Ah.
All right.
Last question.
Oh, the last question. Number 4. What is this is the last question, is the fourth question on my list. What is at the top of your bucket list and why?
The top of my bucket list. I don't do bucket lists.
Okay.
It doesn't.
Want me to re-roll then?
It doesn't fit with the philosophy of Piane. I don't do bucket lists.
So there's nothing that you think of like, oh, I've got to do that.
Yeah, I've got to put a roof on my garage. Garage needs a new roof.
Living in the now.
That's right.
That and Tahiti. That's, I think, garage, and then we're going to Tahiti.
I mean, there's a plenty of things that I'd love to do, but I guess I don't have a top of the list besides the garage roof.
Okay, fair enough. That works.
And Cameron, back to you. Those are the 5 questions.
Awesome, great. Okay, so now let's wrap this up. But before we do, I want to make sure that everybody knows, like, you know, where they can find you, how they can get in touch with you. You know, like, tell us all of your websites and places where they can hear your music.
Sure.
And where they can see your gigs and stuff.
Yeah, probably the easiest way to get a hold of me is just through my website, which is marcpiane.com. It's MarcPiane.com.
Okay.
That has links to the Walk East record that we talked about earlier.
Yep.
Has a link to the string quartet record that we did. Has a link to the Chris Green records. And then it also has a list of gigs and contact information and all that kind of stuff. So that's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. My Facebook, I think, is just /Marc Piane.
Do you have because I mean, a lot of your Facebook stuff is pretty, it's like it's like your life. It's not like your business page or anything like that.
Yeah.
Do you have a Facebook business page or?
There's one for Walk East.
Oh, okay.
Which is just /Walk East.
Why is it Walk East?
Well, here you want to hear the story?
Yeah.
All right. So it's sort of a funny one because lots of people think that Walk East has something to do with like some mysticism or something like that. Could not be farther from the truth. Walk East. So when I was in, I think it was 3rd grade, we were studying the Chicago Fire, Great Chicago Fire.
Right.
And a couple of kids in my class got into an argument, got into a fight, and they were calling each other names. And my teacher was like the ultimate teachable moment. She was like, no. Instead of calling each other those bad names, you got to use names like they would have used back during, the Great Chicago Fire. She's like, the ultimate insult back then was to tell someone to walk east. And they were like really, really confused. And like, she was like, look, what's east of here? This is in Chicago. What's east of here? The lake. Walk east means go jump in a lake. So that was where that came from.
Excellent. Very nice.
Well, I think there was a later, and Sri or Cameron, you might have even been there. We were sitting around in a room at Knox talking about great band names. And I think that was one that came up like, man, wouldn't it be great to have a band named Walk East?
Really?
Yeah, that must have been me because that's my MO on Facebook nowadays is to
come up with band names.
Come up with band names for my own list, which is, I believe, now listed as of yesterday at about 173.
We got to
not necessarily counting. I'm just it's an average. I'm looking at it. I'm about 173 names so far. Wow. I think somebody else has found how many names that I've come up with.
And you got like copyrights and.
Well, that I've posted them on a public sphere and claimed the names, and where I needed to, I shouted out to people who inspired me for those names. But
see, what you got to do is you got to go buy all the .com so that when somebody starts a band, then you can sell them the website.
I believe the latest one was a conversation with Cameron and I today. It's babysealclub.com.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
As opposed to the verb, it's now a noun, so why not?
So Walk East Face is on Facebook, so people can check that out. How about, are you doing the Twitter?
I can tweet.
I do Twitter, and actually I do. Let me look here. I'm not even sure what my Twitter. It is. I mean, I do tweet, and.
Oh.
It's a hard thing to do.
It's for me.
We're finishing off right now.
I think it's just @Marc Piane.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Here we go. Yep. @Marc Piane.
at Marc Piane. Excellent.
Yep, and I do a lot of I always do like gig announcements and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I put out on there, and stuff about like this Sean Maxwell thing that's coming up and the Chris Green CD release and all of that stuff. I put all out on there.
And you gave us the times and dates and stuff for that. Or you're gonna have all that information on your site so people can go and like check it out.
I am. I mean, do you want me to tell you it all again?
Sure, it can't hurt.
So the Sean Maxwell Alliance CD release party is at the Jazz Showcase, February 21st or 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd.
Okay.
That weekend. Amy Soraya will be at the Hideout on March 1st. And then the Chris Green Quartet, we're doing our CD release party at the Green Mill on March 8th.
Ooh, nice.
Saturday, March 8th. And then we're also, Chris Green Quartet, we're also at the Pete Miller's every Tuesday night. And then I play with Miles Hayes at the Firehouse in the South Loop on every Friday night.
Wow. Okay.
So lots of stuff. But yeah, if you keep an eye on MarcPiane.com, I'm also my webmaster, so I sometimes I'm a little bit slow about keeping it updated, but I try my best. So.
Sure. Okay. Very cool.
Jazz Showcase, by the way, I haven't been there in years. I have to go back and take a look at that place. And the best time to do it is to watch you. I think I will.
Which one are you talking about?
The Jazz Showcase. It's been.
I invite both of you guys to come. That's going to be a really. It's a really different kind of thing, and that'd be a great show to see.
I mean,
awesome.
And the venue is just phenomenal. Cameron, seriously.
Yeah.
A beautiful place.
Huh. Okay.
Thank you, both of you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for talking with us, Mark. I mean, my friends are awesome. It says it all. What you're doing is really, really cool. I appreciate you talking with us about it because, I mean, we've all kind of gone our separate ways and done our own things, and it's kind of, you put your head down and you get to work and you're just kind of focusing on things, and then you look up and you go, oh my God, look at all this incredible stuff happening around me. And I just, I think I wanted to touch base with people. You're the first person, because, what you've been doing has kind of, I feel like it's been pretty impressive, and I wanted to let everybody know and talk about it because it's awesome. So.
Well, I appreciate you saying so. Same kind of thing happens on your end where you put your head down and you do what you do, and it is kind of fun to look back on all the stuff that you've done and realize that actually you have done a few things.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I appreciate you guys saying so. It's been really fun to to have you recognize it. So.
And truth be told, it's the first name that both of us collectively went, we have to bring, if we're going to bring our friends who are cool and who are awesome in, let's go with people that we know intimately and we've all grown up together, if you will, or we've grown adulthood together, and you were it, and it's perfect. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
And we'll keep going. I mean, both Schrader and I know some pretty cool people. In fact, you'll recognize many of them as well, Mark, because, like I said, they're people are doing neat stuff, and you just, I mean, there are people doing things that you kind of think, wow, that's interesting, that's different. How did they get there? How did they do that? And we know them. So
yeah.
So onward.
Before they were cool.
That's right. So I guess that's pretty much it. So I'll post this up and we'll share it around and let's all have a lot of fun. We'll keep in touch.
Awesome.
Talk to you later.
All right. Thanks.
Bye now.